StarTale spawns to the top left of the map. In red, we have the Protoss, called
StarTale, Avenge.
Looks likely to go Gateway Expand with that pylon placement.
Currently in the third round of Code A, up against Flash after he defeated Fantasy and Hydra. He's up against a player who's not in Code A anymore, at least not for this season. At the bottom right of the map, we have the starting player for Team MVP. Give it up for
MVP DongRaeGu.
Otherwise known as DRG.
Yep, after dropping down to Code A, after losing in Code S, he was up against Noblesse in the second round of Code A and lost without taking a single map, can therefore completely focus on the Team League here.
Yep. And as mentioned before, there's the Gateway going down. We have Avenge doing one of our newer style openings in Heart of the Swarm, going into, it's a new style that's old. And he's actually going to be facing a hatchery first, so this is going to be quite decent for DRG to get away with this.
Yeah, hatch first opening, also because we don't have a probe there. He had the overlords on the map, he sees that there's no probe, and he just looks at the map and is like, you know what, if you don't move out with the probe and try to block my hatch, I will just take a hatch first. That's completely fine with me. Apparently we have a bit of an issue here, most likely going to be a bit of a hotkey problem.
Yeah, most likely will be the case. Remember, in the Team League warnings actually affect your score now, so...
Oh yeah, that's really important here. Avenge takes it easy, takes the break that he has to take a sip here. DongRaeGu seems to be quite happy about what happened. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I think he thinks something is funny. He has a hotkey problem, as expected. There's a warning.
Yeah, it's always weird. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but I personally don't really understand how that can happen if you're the first player for your team. You have so much time to set everything up, so I really don't know how that happens. I mean, the first thing that you do when you go into the booth, you set up your gear, and then you play like a game, at least the build order, and look if everything works.
Yeah, he just said everything's fixed now, and he's just sorry.
Look at Avenge like it was there. He doesn't care. He's like, yeah, well, whatever, just bring it on.
Exactly. He started his double gas back in game, and DRG now, of course, just going to continue on with his build as well. He doesn't yet know about the gateway.
And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the gateway, or let's say the hatch first, is of course a reaction to what happened in the game. DongRaeGu sees there's no probe out there, so he's like, well, if you don't probe block me, then I will just take my hatch first. Fine with me, giving me a bit of an edge.
Yeah. He's also trying to get ahead in not drone scouting. So he's going to find out a little bit later that there's no Nexus, and this is not something you can really assume ever, especially not on a map like this.
Yeah, against the Protoss player, you don't really drone scout all that often. It depends a little bit on what you expect and a lot on the mind games. Against Terran, you usually want to have a drone on the map because it's really dangerous to get too close with the Overlord. If the Terran player shoots down the Overlord with an early Marine, then you are in trouble. But against the Protoss, you always know that when the Overlord arrives in the main base, there is just nothing that can take it down.
Yeah, and also against a Protoss, you're very unlikely to face any sort of forward gateways or anything like that, like you see a Terran player do with his barracks. You see the Mothership Core come out first here, before anything else, starts Warp Gate research, and we'll start most likely a Stalker next.
So we have now the Gateway Expand, and I want to just briefly touch upon the history of this build. The problem with Gateway Expands in Rings of Liberty was that they were very dangerous to execute because a Zerg player could just completely attack you the entire time and crush you down. Therefore the Forged Expand developed. But now in the Heart of the Swarm, we have the Mothership Core. This is also the reason why we see it so early in the game, because with the Mothership Core, as an addition to the Gateway, you can use the Photon Overcharge and defend so much better against early aggression of a Zerg player.
Yeah, definitely true. And he in fact starts a Stargate and then a Sentry, so he's not going to be putting on any direct aggression early on, but this build is very risky, but if he can get that Mothership Core in position and get this wall up at his natural, he should be able to defend against any sort of link pressure.
This is now getting really interesting, because this is an opening that we have seen used in Code A already. I think Trap used the strategy on the very same map, and we've seen it also in other leagues like Pro League. This is a build that you can use to get your air tech up and go into an air Protoss style if you want to. You don't necessarily have to play it this way. No force fields here, just tries to take down those lurklings, or at least just work at the hit points.
Yeah, a little bit surprising he didn't force field him out there, but I guess he's okay with the possibility of more aggression coming.
Exactly, that's the one reason why he also doesn't follow those Zerglings into the main base with the sentry. He always knows it could be a bait, it could be just an attempt to lure the sentry away from the wall, and then a second wave of Zergling comes in. He didn't scout yet, so he doesn't really know what's going on here. So Avenge is playing this smart. He realizes that he has a choice here, either block those Zerglings out and deny the scout, but then he won't be ready with a second force field to stop an attack if there is.
Yeah, it could be a very fast speedling all-in coming forward, so he doesn't want to chance it. And you know, in this case, it ended up being the wrong choice, but it's the safer choice no matter what. So
yeah,
it works out for him here. Now, DRG, during all of this, his speed is finishing up. He is starting to add additional gases, and he's had this third base up for a pretty long time now. He's starting to really make use of that saturation. So we're either going to see a heavy 2-base timing, or very soon the third Nexus will be dropped for Avenge.
The way that he plays it right now, he can definitely go into this air style, and we could see, of course, him going into a Fleet Beacon, a few Tempests, zone out the Zerg player. But there are a couple of counters to this, and DongRaeGu already goes into the tech, goes straight into lair here at roughly 7 minutes. He needs to be a little bit careful with those Phoenixes trying to take down these drones, but still, there are especially Hydra timings that are very dangerous for Avenge now.
Avenge very careful with his micro and his sentries, not losing any sentries, not wasting any force fields at home. Phoenix is continuing to pick up any main transferring drone going to the third base, and he hasn't done a critical amount of damage with this, but he certainly has been very annoying, and this is actually going to supply block DRG for a very brief moment until his next few Overlords finish.
Avenge really needs to put on the pressure here, because he is playing this quite greedy. He added those gateways a little bit late, he doesn't have a single cannon at the wall, so he's completely relying on his sentries, and is now force fielding, or actually walling completely off. He's moving out with those sentries, and this is gonna get dangerous.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna do that 2-base pressure I was talking about before. He's getting a forward pylon set up, and Phoenix is just continuing to kill Overlords, which means that Larva and resources have to be spent by DRG, but the pylon is found.
Great scout here. He finds the pylon, but the Phoenixes should be able to use a couple of lifts. Doesn't even need them. He has the sentries already close enough to save the pylon.
Yep. Uses one force field, that's all he needs. Does not waste any of his Phoenix energy. Really like his choice here. Mothership Core at 200 energy, can use 2 time warps or a recall and a time warp if he wants to use it like that.
So much aggression against the third base. This is exactly what we've seen Protoss players do against Zerg players that expand against the gateway expand. Here we go, moving in. The Hydra Den is just now ready. The Roach is on the way, but can he hold this base?
I really like the way he's using his Phoenixes to catch reinforcements, just picking them off one at a time while the sentry's doing work on the drones.
But there's not a lot of that does damage for Avenge. He needs another round of Warbins. Those sentries are getting low in hit points, and more Roaches are streaming in.
Yeah, he needs a Warpin of Stalkers, you know, maybe to deal with these Roaches. The Zealots, though, working well with the force fields here.
Really good force fields by Avenge so far, but we have more and more Roaches moving in. DongRaeGu is in a position where he seems to be very confident against this type of composition of Avenge.
Yeah, the Spore Crawler doing a little bit of damage to that Mothership Core. He does survive, and he's very reluctant to warp in Stalkers here, warping in only Zealots right now, which leaves him a lot of resources to transition, and that's exactly what he does back in home. He's probably going to recall here.
He's trying to warp in additional units, but with only 3 gateways, he doesn't have enough units, and there are 11 Roaches that will pop out in just a few seconds. You can really see that DongRaeGu is able to push this back, but Avenge is already transitioning. As he said, Wolf, he's going straight into the robotics bay.
Yeah, he saved a lot of resources since he didn't really commit to adding any extra gateways, and this is a little bit of a weird lift. He could definitely kill that Queen, but it looks like he's worried about making other stuff back at home, like the sentries is warping right now. The Queen does survive.
Yeah, he didn't realize that those Phoenixes were not in range. Was able to save the Mothership Core that was attacked by one of the Spore Crawlers. DongRaeGu, on the other hand, is now getting a lot of Roaches streaming across the map with the 16 that he has, going straight into the speed for them. He wants to put on pressure now. He wants to find out what's going on here.
Avenge seeming in a panic, starts 2 robotic support bases. It's a big mistake. That's a lot of resources lost. And I mean, there's no reason why you would want to have 2. Definitely a mistake here, and that's a lot of gas lost. So if he realizes it in a few seconds, maybe he can save it, but he's very preoccupied with other things right now, like the huge Roach attack that's walking across the map.
The Roach is pushing in, but DongRaeGu backing off already. He doesn't want to commit here. He's a bit afraid of running into force fields and being force fielded out. Avenge is still trying to do damage, and he's building a Colossus while the robotics, the second one, the second robotic space is still being warped in. Now he has 2 of them.
Yep. He could, you know, get warp prism speed at the same time as range or something like that, but I just don't find that to be useful this time in the game.
You know, the thing is, when he started to build the first one, that was in the middle of the fight at the bottom right, and this is why he probably... But he just slipped his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, he wants to hit as fast as possible, then his brain goes into overdrive mode where he's thinking about the normal timings for it, and he starts the second one. Starts now the Twilight Council, and his third base here is a lot later than he would have liked, for sure. The Link's denying him just a little bit.
We are going into the additional attack for DRG, adding the Spire and the Infestation Pit. He can go for a couple of different compositions here. He can go either into Swarm Host, can take right up to Hive and add Vipers instead, using a few Corruptors in addition to the Hydra list that he's already getting. So a lot of possible transitions here for DRG, and we are going to find out in just a few seconds which path he goes down. Will we see the Hive tech, or is he going into the upgrades for the Locusts?
That's what we're going to find out in just a few moments here. I'm feeling like we're going to see just a small amount of Corruptors and then go into that Hive tech. Just enough Corruptors to where he feels defensible against some sort of Colossus push off of 3 bases. Nothing just yet, you know, he's just waiting until he knows what's coming, then he's going to make it.
Here is the Hive tech, so he wants to add a few Vipers to his composition. We have the speed for the Hydralisks, and as you already said, he doesn't really want to commit fully just yet. He's waiting a little bit, just trying to test the waters, trying to find out what's going on. This is why we also have another Overseer being built by him, so he really wants to see what's coming. Has a good amount of scouting going in the game so far. But the one advantage that Avenge really is now crushing out is his upgrades. He's already going into +2/+2, chrono boosting the forges. Doing a really good job with that.
Yeah, I really like how Avenge also waits to kill his rocks at the third base. He's not just prematurely doing that. He's waiting until there's an opportunity, because if he catches units underneath those rocks and they're trying to do their DPS against force fields and the rocks collapse on top of them, that's going to be a disaster. So he's just trying to make sure he can use those rocks to the best to his ability. Sends out 2 hallucinated Phoenix Scouts. They're going to find exactly what they want on the right side of the map. Is a base there. So he has to make a choice, though. Does he attack the base, or does he just sit back and accept the fact that he's going to be a little bit behind the bases for a short period of time?
And once Avenge finds out what exactly is going on in DRG's main base, he will most likely add the Templar Archive. If you're up against the Zerg player that adds Vipers to his composition, you want to have high Templars out so that you can feedback them. That's one of the most important things. Avenge might try to do a little bit damage before that, but it's going to be really difficult for him to pull that off. He has to heavily rely on his upgrade advantage.
Yeah, I think what he can do here is with this 2-2, go over and snipe the hatchery and leave. That's what he can hope to do, especially since he has the Mothership Core at full energy. He could slow the Roaches and the Hydras down before he fights the Vipers, right before the Vipers and the Corruptors get out.
Yeah, I don't really know if he is fast enough, though. The Corruptors are already halfway done, and we have so many Roaches and Hydralisks already. So this is a position where it's going to be difficult for Avenge to make this work, especially when those Corruptors get a good position against the Colossi.
Yeah, you know, I was a little bit surprised he went out to clear up the creep instead of just going right for that base. Now he's kind of missed his timing window. He's just going to take his own 4th instead. We have Locusts on the way.
So smart. I love it. Hallucinated Colossi. He's moving in, trying to tank a bit of damage with them. Really nice job by Avenge. He's going for it, and DRG moving in. He doesn't know what to target first.
Yeah, the Colossi are doing a ton of damage here. And, you know, he's got the detection, but still, Time Warp's going down. The force fields are excellent.
He had the detection there. He targets down the 2 Colossi, the real ones, but now picking off the cloak ones, he can't do anything against it. Where are those additional corruptions? I think he's still in cooldown, but a lot of the ground units are already gone.
Yeah, the Colossi may be gone, but the Corruptors are now useless, and the Spinecrawlers are not going to be long for this world. More and more Stalkers warping in here. Don't forget, though, he has an insane economy right now. 13 Hydras on the way, and he's transitioning into those Locusts.
DRG moving those drones back. Great job picking off those 2 real Colossi, picking them out from the crowd, and now he's losing one of his bases. But can he get the army up that he needs to push this back? Avenge has done a good job with this, but the problem for the Protoss player really is that given time, DRG's composition will be the superior one.
Absolutely, with not only the Swarm Host coming out, but he has the Greater Spire on the way. He's got to use the army he has and the upgrades he has to their full effect before that moment. And so he sees with his Observer the base is being remade over there. He already has a forward pylon ready. He can commit here and go for another attack. He has to be careful against the Corruptors, but the ground army is not a big problem for him, and he's going for it. So smart, 5 Stalkers at that Warping pylon.
There's a lot of Stalkers, and Stalkers, 44 of them. I mean, with Blink and all those upgrades, they can do so much damage. It's going to be difficult for DRG to master this army. I mean, given time, he will have the better composition, but I don't think that Avenge will wait.
Yeah, he's definitely not waiting. Clears up a lot of this creep. It looks like he may go for the natural. He still has that Warping pylon and an additional one coming even closer. He may blink in here.
And he can. Great Aspire is not done just yet. A lot of Hydralisks though. They can do a lot of damage. Here come those Colossi. They are being taken out by the Corruptors once again. Can they do the damage that they need to dish out before they go?
Well, they're doing a decent amount, and there's so many Stalkers left, and with good Blink Micro, DRG is pushed back here. He's down in supply now.
51 Stalkers, and he blinks like a boss. That's not enough for DRG. He's moving in with everything that he has, but it's just not enough. He's stopping in supply. He's going down, and Avenge, he did it. He took the game. GG.